group got together and we threw around lots of names, and through Janet, and we just put it together. But I think the whole group decided that Women Strong, because that's what women, we are strong. We really carry a whole bunch. Maybe Atlas thought he had the world, but we know who really carries it all. So Women Strong really fit us and fit what our objective was. The objective of our group is to kind of bring people together. So that does take some strength. So that's how it came up. At a REACH conference, the REACH objective was to bring, it says reaching across and getting to know your neighbor. So it was really the same concept that we're doing. It just happened to be that way.
And we'd been going to them for years, but didn't know each other.
Right. So we hooked up there and got to know each other there and talked a lot, and then after that talked some more, and we had so much in common. We just decided we're going to do things together, and it worked out good. It's the women and our gatherings that we have formed our friendships, but the women, because they are all artists, they're all serious artists when it's in their heart and in their head. They're all that way. Not only are they all artists, but they're all good thinkers. They're very good thinkers. And when I say good thinkers, most of them are trained in their art. Or some are not trained in their art. Some are biologists, but they still love the arts. But as Women Strong, we have a lot to add. And we just want to share, which is majorly important. If anybody could go back and make some changes in our world, I'm sure that'd be one of the things that would be changed.
The togetherness.
The togetherness needs to be there.
Yeah.
And the hierarchies and the friendships should be. We need to know each other. It's I don't even know how people thrive, and they don't, without
that together.
So we've got to do better, or we're failing, and we show it. We're failing continually, year after year after year. We're failing with our in all areas. We're burning up our planet. We're tearing up our people. We need to make some changes. And Women Strong are trying to do our effort in bringing us together with just getting to know each other and knowing that, hey, you're not an evil person. It's okay that we both like art. It's okay. We share each other. It's just a great group, and our efforts have paid off, I think.
Audrey Davis and I have been friends for a very long time. We went to the REACH conference that her husband and Sinclair put together many years, and we happened to be sitting next to each other. We met sitting there together and just introduced ourselves, and it's always fun being in that conference because there's somebody next to you that you don't know, and we're all interested in the same thing. So this, immediately we hit it off. We had lunch together, and then we started meeting up, and decided we were gonna work on this friendship. And while we were talking, we said, wouldn't it be neat if there was a group of artists that we could get together, and they would be from all different backgrounds. So that was the beginning, and we just started making a list of people that we thought might want to be part of the group. So that was the way we started, is that each person took, I think it was 10 minutes we gave them to tell about their family background and what their experiences were as children even, and then what kind of training they had. And then the next time we met, which was about every 2 months, we'd do the same thing again for a couple more artists, and we just kept doing that. And we'd always eat together in some kind of way, informally, or we hit it off, more and more the more we knew about each other. And we all learned so much about perspective and how people think. So yeah, it's very, very cool. I'm in a quilting group, the Miami Valley Art Quilters group, but that word art gives you a lot of freedom. So I don't quilt like other people, I embroider. I just find it more interesting, and it helps add some images and lines and things that I can put in. So even when I'm on vacation, I'm usually working on some kind of embroidery thing that lately has been patchwork. But originally, I decided to go with Bing's triangles, actually. It's what I decided to do a bunch of patchwork with triangles. And so that's been one of my most recent. So the one that's up here is a batik, and that was the very first batik I ever did. I took a class at the Art Institute, and I just kept going with it. Batik is a dyeing process where you put wax on the fabric. So if the fabric is, in this case it was green, it was like a sheet fabric, and you put wax on the fabric for what you want to keep. Anything that doesn't have wax won't stay. And then you can iron it out and do it again, or you can leave that wax in, and the wax will start crinkling and doing cracking. So some of the next dye will get into those little cracks. And then the other piece is more the kind of thing I'm doing lately. It takes a little less time, for one thing. This is a fen that is in Fairfield, here in the area. And I loved the way the entrance looked to the fen. It is a really neat area. And it runs right into another park that's called Oak Quarry. So it's one of those areas where you could just roam around. You can roam around and probably get lost. I don't know. You might want to keep your GPS with you. So the plants at the bottom are made of fabric, and it was a really hard job. And I used a lot of, when I'm doing this kind of thing, I use a lot of Elmer's glue watered down, so the fabric gets real crusty, and it helps it stay in position. And then they make a new Gorilla Glue that you can get tiny dots out of instead of globs like they used to have. And that's what I used to glue that on there, so it wasn't going to go anywhere. I took art education at Ohio State. It's my major. And I also took, my master's was art, religion, French. I guess education was the other part of that, because I was a teacher at the time. But when I came to UD to get my master's, I decided to get the combination rather than just one field. I'm doing more of the three-dimensional. Yeah, I'm really not a straight painter, drawer. I mean, I can do just about anything, and collage is another nice field for me. So, you can do that with fabric, you can do that with paper, you can do it with found objects. It's just a really fun thing. So,
in this show, I put two pieces, one with polymer clay that's a takeoff of a cloth called mud cloth. And this is made with polymer clay mostly, and some glass. And this one is what I usually do. This one I call a mix, but I usually use only natural stones. I like to use stones that come from the ground or the ocean or whatever, just made by itself, and I like to use sterling silver. But the stones that I use, some of these stones, like here's a stone that comes from my collection. I collect stones wherever I go, different places. If I see things, I may collect them or bring them home. Like this stone is about 500 years old, but I'll stick it in because I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff that I've collected. I've got things I throw into this kind of a necklace. And I started using stones to teach because I've always liked stones and jewelry. I've always liked art. I think I came into being an artist just traveling through life. But I have an interest in not only art, but I have an interest in community. When I grew up, I never had a white teacher. I never had a white teacher. I went through all my education, all through to high school. I went to Crispus Attucks High School, the same school that Oscar Robertson went to. But anyway, I never had a white teacher until I went to college, where my husband was the total opposite. He never had a black teacher. But anyway, the sense of community was important to me because I grew up in a community. And when I say community, I mean we had everything we needed and wanted in my community, lacking nothing, and knew how to work together. And we worked it. And so I loved it and enjoyed doing that, wanted to continue that. Some of the best experiences were in my community. So that's been one of the reasons, for my life. I'm hoping that makes sense, because it's important that we all get along. Because Women Strong is part of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing. I have a studio space in the Wright Dunbar Business District in downtown Dayton. So 1135 West 3rd Street. It's inside Bing Davis Studio. So it's a studio and a gallery space. So I have room in there where I have things that you can actually look at, feel, touch, try on. I always think that's the best way. Usually things that you get a photograph, color could be a little off, but I always like to see and show things in the real so that you can get the real feel, and that's my feel for it. I've enjoyed being here at Springboro, mainly because this is part of our purpose. We're extending because we wanted to get out and be shown and known. So thank you for the offer, and it's been good being here. It's a good space, it's beautiful, well cared for, hanging was easy, reception was good. So it's been a good experience here.
The work that I have here on display, Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, represent African Americans who have done great things in their lifetime. You know, I started out painting, and then I fell in love with clay. And I've been doing clay ever since, and that was a long time ago when we put our children in school and stay at the Dayton Art Institute all day long, and graduated out of the Dayton Art Institute. I chose those two people because a lot of my sculpture represents people who make great contributions to our culture. I'm doing a bust of Paul Laurence Dunbar. I had done one of him a long time ago and sold it. And so when we showed our art at the Dayton Art Institute, the first thing Jerry Lewis, he asked me if I had a bust of Paul Laurence Dunbar. And so I decided to do another one of him. I work with a photo, and I have learned to, from the photo, attempt to feel the spirit of that person. One of the things that encourages me in art is because it's an inside thing, and it's a spiritual thing that I manifest through my art. And so my busts are not entirely reciprocals of, exactly how the person looks, but it's how the spirit leads me to interpret how the person looks. So, when I go to my classes, and because I am a student of Eugene Dobbs in Arizona, and I take classes from him, and he's always trying to instruct me to do things in the way that he does his art. He does his art more focused, and then I interpret the art that I have learned from him in my way. I have a website, fortsonsculptures.com, and you can go in and see a lot of my work that I did from the beginning when I first started doing art. But I do have a website, fortsonsculptures.com, and it talks about why I do art, sculpture, and how it comes from me, into my spirit comes into the work that I'm doing. Well, I enjoy being a part of Women Strong because it gives me an opportunity to work with people from other cultures and to see how we look at things and not, be angry, at the way that other people look at things. And it's growing. Every time I get with them, I grow because I had not been able to do that many times in even places where you live. You don't find the deliberate attempt to understand each other, even though our colors might be different. We still attempt to understand where the person is coming from, and we don't get angry, but we try to work together, and that makes us strong. I would love for people to look at my art and know that it's coming out of my spirit, and that is the main thing that I would want them to know. And it's been a pleasure to work with Women Strong and to be able to feel the other culture, coming forth from them, and just enjoy myself and enjoy life in a creative way. The Springboro Performing Arts Center has been so open and appreciative to our group. I was amazed when I came in and saw all the work displayed, and I was very happy to meet the person who's in charge of everything, and her gracious smile, welcoming smile has just enlightened me and made me want to be a part of this.
I chose one series and then one individual piece, and the pieces that are part of the series are here on the wall. There were 12 of them, and I had been struggling for a couple of years on how can you portray a year, and I actually still have that rolling through my mind because I want to use the song from Rent, 525,600 minutes, and I wanted to do something that represented 525,600 minutes, and I haven't done anything really that satisfies me yet. So I thought, well, okay, let's just do month by month and do a year in trees. And on the back, I have a number representing that particular month of the year. And I may have put the name of the month, but I don't use the month names when I show them because I don't want to lead people too much, because then they'll look at it and go, oh, that's September, But I really had a good time with this because I used one tree form and I just varied it with each piece and came up with 12 pieces. They hang in a grid, and it's all paper collage with a little bit of rusted metal thrown into some of them. I usually work in collage almost everything. Sometimes I'll branch out and do one or two little odd things, but I started working in collage, oh my gosh, 40 years ago maybe. And part of the reason I did is because I felt like my artwork was getting very tight and technical, and I needed to loosen up and let the material lead me in collage, paper, or a natural outgrowth of that. I received a Bachelor of Fine Arts from Ohio Northern University in Ada, and then I received my Master's in Humanities from Wright State. I also studied for about a year and a half with Bing Davis, who was a well-known artist in the area and well-known internationally, which was a little bit of serendipity. It just happened, and it's a funny story. I met Bing when I lived in Kansas City, Missouri, and Bing was there for 1 year. I worked in an art supply store. I was about 22, 23 years old, and he bought his supplies there. He was there to do a commission. And I moved from Kansas City to Annapolis, Maryland, before we came back to Dayton, where my husband grew up, and Bing and I reconnected there. One of the fun things about the whole experience with him was not only did he mentor and encourage, his daughter and my daughter are the same age, so as little girls, they played together. Bing would come to my house, he'd bring his daughter Nia, and Laura and Nia, at the age of 3 or 4 or 5 years old, would play while Bing and I worked. So I got an email from Janet Lasley, who's our leader, a couple of years before we actually came together, asking if I would be interested in a group of this type or some sort of an artist group. And I saved the email because I knew at some point, you know, Janet would get back to me. I was in no rush, I had no concern about that. And then she and Audrey Davis, Big's wife, decided they wanted to assemble a group of women artists, different ages and ethnicities and life experience, and so here we are. I have a website, it's www.pippengerart, all one word.com. I don't post much on Instagram lately. Sometimes I post on Facebook. So you could either visit me at my studio or look at my website. Talking about going outside the box, I'm not working on collage at this moment. I have a big project that's actually inside a box. It's a 10-foot by 20-foot shipping container. And I'm working really hard to finish it. And it's been a real challenge because of COVID and not being able to get supplies for something of that nature. So that'll be interesting. It's been a huge learning curve for me with a project that big. After our first meeting, I came home and I said to my husband, and I've got to do a little backstory quickly here. I used to own an art gallery in Tip City and I had 5 other partners, and we were just such such a wonderful group in that our minds worked together. And we ran that gallery as equal partners for a number of years. And after we closed the gallery, I hadn't had anything like that. That kind of camaraderie and friendship and, you know, a group of artists that we really just worked well together. And I came home after that first meeting with Women Strong, and I told my husband, I said, this is another Conversation Pieces, which was the name of my former gallery. This is going to be like that, and it has been. It makes me almost tear up to think about it. Getting to show somewhat post-COVID has been great, and we weren't able to meet very often. We did a couple of Zoom meetings, so just to be able to see each other, you know, in the flesh, for real, and to share and to catch up on what had been happening has been wonderful, and we really appreciate that we've been able to show here in Springboro. Getting us a little farther south in the area, hopefully reaching a new audience down here. What's most important for all of us is the support and encouragement we get from each other. We're each other's cheerleaders. And to have learned other people's backgrounds and become friends with people I might not have run into in my day-to-day life. We live in different parts of the Miami Valley, but we all come together to share ideas and share this experience of living as an artist and making work together. And we've learned so much from each other. It's just a real piece of luck, actually.
I have 4 pieces in this display. 2 are located on the other side of this show is ocean, and two you can see on this picture, 2 flowers. I started painting actually after 20 years painting. I started to experience another style using my fingers, painting these pieces. So everything you see on this painting is done without brushes. So that was a good experience actually. I started with acrylic, but I found out it doesn't work very well with acrylic because it doesn't spread and it doesn't blend very well. So I decided to do it with oil, and I saw it gives me a better, you know, result, and I loved it. It was a fun painting, and I had a very good experience. I'm going to continue doing this style again and again. When I was painting sky and I was using my finger to blend the clouds, it gives me some idea, you know, even though I'm not using a brush, my finger can help me to spread it very well. So I decided to do a whole painting using my fingers. When I was a child, there always something in me, you know, drawing pieces, not taking any classes, just myself. And then I found out I want to do something in art, so I asked my father to register me as a, you know, art student in an studio in Tehran. So I took several classes, maybe for 6 years, with a very good instructor, Mr. Hossein Zadeh in Tehran. And then once I was done with him, I had another instructor, which was the instructor of my instructor, and it was very good. So they helped me very, much to learn a lot of styles and, media, using different medias to create my own, piece. So yeah, I continue as I've been instructing myself for more than 15 years now. I'm having my own students in my home studio, so yeah, I'm working with kids and enjoying teaching. I went to Wright State University to get my master's degree in science. Actually, I have master's degree in microbiology. Then, since I had 2 little kids, I decided to continue as a, stay-home mom, doing more of my artwork, combining with my other major masters in microbiology. So yeah, and then I started, asking, kids to come to my studio, and we started working together. Find me on Facebook on Nasrin Art Studio, and also on Instagram, Nasrin Painting page. I'm working on a new style. I'm using, I try to use very simple, items or things to create my art, because I'm kind of tired using brushes. So I'm using straws, to to use to make a new piece, and I think it's going to be an amazing painting, because I already done one in a small piece, and I got a very nice result. I'm going to do a big one. It was a very nice experience for me, as being a different culture. So I met these ladies from, we have a lady from China, we have, it's me from a different country, and other ladies from different cultures. So it was an amazing, experience for me to sit with these ladies, and we have together like not every month, occasionally we have our meetings in our places. So it gives us some ideas about our cultures, food, and even our outfits. So I get a lot of knowledge. So I love it. Springboro is my city. I live in Springboro, so I love this place. And actually it's very new community in here. So we have a lot of young people that they're interested in painting or other arts. So we can get their attention over here. So I think it's a good area to start. Yeah, the only thing I want to say, it's people, like me, I'm new in this country. Actually, I'm not new, it's been a long time, but I want people to get involved with different cultures, get their ideas on any type of art. So yeah, and encourage us to be more proactive. So that's all I want people to do for us.
Well, I had 3 pieces. I had this one here, organic vectors, and then I had the red piece, subtle circuits down there, and then I had one in the very back there with the hand with the wrapped in vines that was called entwined. For these pieces, they're still kind of the transition of me moving away from some of my figurative work. You remember, I think I used to draw figures attached to botanicals and leaves coming out as wings, which I still do every now and then, but I wanted to be a little less literal of showing humanity connected to nature, so I wanted to show a human aspect that is connected with nature too. So I thought technology is a very human thing, and I thought it would be neat to pair those with organic things and botanicals like leaves and flowers too, and have the circuits running through them. So it still plays on my human connections and our hand in nature as we try to manipulate it or just show our basic connections to it. I want them to look at them and feel like there is a connection between the two, between the natural world and the technological world or the human world. All the vectors and the circuits kind of stand for humanity as this is our handprint, if you will, as we try to sometimes manipulate or handle nature as a way to control it, even though sometimes they work hand in hand and they still are always connected, even if we try to manipulate it, control it, or try to remove ourselves from it. I am from a family of artists. My sister and I were raised by two artists. They don't do it professionally, but my sister and I do. Born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. I went to school in Webster University, and my emphasis was drawing, and I have been doing that ever since. I work at the Contemporary Dayton as a curatorial assistant, and I also practice my art as a living, working professional artist now. I'm still working on these connections here. I have a solo show coming up next year with the African American Visual Artists Guild. So I am working on building up my stores of art for that show. And during that time, I'm just working on making more of these and raising my family. I do have an Instagram. I also have a website. My website is www.cydnieking.com. And then I also have an Instagram of at Cydnie_LD_King. So I'm appreciative to finally see it all come together as a whole. And from the other show I was part of, the Black History one, I enjoyed that one too. But I guess I enjoy working with these women too as a whole, and they're fun to be around, and it's fun to see our work change over the years as we keep moving the shows around.
For this exhibit, I brought a variety of paintings, drawings, and crochet mixed media subjects. I'm a bit of a rebel. I like things to just kind of come down off the wall and spill onto the floor, and I've recently been doing that with paintings as well. But it started with these baskets. I call it the Basketful series, and so that's basically the inspiration behind it is just being unconventional and daring, and just doing something that involves more than just simply being on a wall. I like to use the floor and, if I can, the ceiling as well. So the painting that I have is actually from my graduate school experience. So I'm preparing to do a retrospect of several pieces, about a dozen of them. And so I just decided to kind of do like a little miniature retrospect. So this one I did, about 14, 15 years ago in oil. And I was really into hair, and so this was one of my early heritage pieces, and hair spelled with hair, the word hair in it. In the Heritage series, and so that is the inspiration behind that one, is the hair, which is why you don't really see much of a face or anything else, yeah. So I really enjoyed that. I've been an artist as long as I can remember. I would say that my first formal training started at the Columbus College of Art and Design with the Saturday morning classes that they do for kids, which I hear they still do. And I'm learning now that there's some people that are also on the art scene in Ohio that started off in that same program as I did. And so that's kind of where I started as a kid, and sold my first piece when I was 11, and there was like no turning back from there. Did some drawing for a long, long time before I started painting in college, and now I'm doing mixed media paintings lately, which I'm incorporating crochet now into my painting, so that's been a lot of fun. So I graduated from Central State University with a Bachelor's of Arts in Studio Art, concentrating in 2D. And then from there, I went to the University of Cincinnati to pursue my Master's in Fine Arts through the DAP program, Design, Architecture, Art and Planning program in 2009. And that was an interesting time because I was pregnant my entire last year of grad school, graduated, and then had my first child 2 weeks later. And that's where a lot of my work started involving my children. I would say including some of my award-winning pieces have involved my children. And I've shown throughout the Midwest, Ohio, Illinois, Missouri, and other states like Tennessee. I'm getting ready to show in Vermont next month. Just showed in New Orleans, and did some research presentation there, and that was exciting. Went to Italy and studied as a student. Just took some students to Italy this year, a whole all-woman cast of students, and we had a great time. It was great, yeah. Looking forward to hopefully going to Paris next time. I am Associate Professor of Art at Central State University, headed into my 13th year. Yeah, it's crazy. So, and then we've done other projects and things. I'm also the advisor of the Visual Arts Club. We're going to be doing a project this year for the African American Culture Festival. So that'll be like their very first assignment this year. So real excited about that as well. I'm available on Etsy. Honestly, if you Google my name or if you Google the Scarvin Artist, and I can spell that as THESCARVINARTIST. So the Scarvin Artist is available on Etsy.com, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And so anyone can reach out to me anytime. I feel like the first show was like yesterday, like even though that was about a year and a half ago. I really enjoyed all of that, the interview process, because it was very recently post, shut down when we did that one. So I remember discussing how when everyone was running to the store to get toilet paper and whatnot, I was rushing off to get art supplies. I was already stocked up on those things. I was very worried about running out of art supplies being under shutdown. And so, fast forward now, a year and a half later, I've created a whole art style called acrylic squared, which is, I gave it a definition, the dexterous application of acrylic yarn on acrylic paint. And so I will do like a full acrylic painting, and then in the end maybe add a collar of yarn draping from around the neck all the way down off the canvas onto the floor, headed down the hall and everything. And that has been extremely liberating for me. It feels very me, very rebellious, and some people are like, what's up with the strings hanging down and all of that? I'm like, it's supposed to do that. And so from moving from the basket spilling over, now they're spilling off the canvas, and just the idea of breaking out of the traditional frame makes me so happy. So I love being a part of Women Strong. It is exclusive in that the whole being invited in feels very special and definitely feels like a family. And I would say it is at this point, 4 years running now. And although we had our first show close to 10 years ago, the group itself is about 4 years strong. And so being a part of that is great, seeing as how we went from, starting in 2018 and during the pandemic, meeting up throughout the pandemic virtually, and discussing the different things that we were seeing and when are we gonna meet up again, and all of those things has been very special to be a part of, because I think, all communities need a group of a collective women artists from different backgrounds and different, even countries even. We have women from different countries even, which is really great, and different socioeconomic backgrounds. And I think that's just important everywhere. So it's really great to be a part of it here. I don't really know how to explain fully how special that is, but whenever I see that we're going to do something, be a part of something, I'm always ready to jump on that, yeah. So going from a show that deals with blackness, black identity, to women's identity, identifying in both of those realms has different but equal roles for me. And I love pursuing them individually or together. And then sometimes not really adding either of those. Like in this case, this really has no identity. Just looks like something a rebel did, a really bad person. Yeah. I was late today because I was working on some projects, and they're waiting for me when I get back. I get up very early in the morning, usually before the sun, to get started on whatever it is that's keeping me awake. And it doesn't keep me awake in a bad way at all. I'm still very excited about my work, even more so than I've ever been. That's a really satisfying feeling to know that not only has it not gotten old, it's become fresher. Yeah.